All right, well, I believe we are live, so let's get right into this. My name is Andy Singleton, People's Pen on Twitter. This is the Nickel Press Show live. We're gonna give you the next 2 hours of fantasy football talk, start sit stuff, DFS plays, injury updates, everything like that. Let me bring my guests in. Today I have, as usual, Tehal Bedek out in Seattle, Bedek143, and Peyton Sanders joining us from Denver, Colorado, at Paystand on Twitter. Peyton, good morning to you as well.
What's going on, Andy?
How much? Tahal, good morning to you. How many shots of espresso have you had so far?
Good morning. Zero. I'm out of it, so I'm waiting for this tea contraption I have to finish brewing here. It sounds like it's almost done, so I'm almost ready to kick it in full gear. But until then, I'm gonna let you handle it.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, we are usually joined by Dr. Salim Parekh, the fantasy doctor, nickel press doctor. He is on vacation at an undisclosed location, and he's going to try to join us.
How dare he?
How dare he? Exactly, I know. Especially at the gross amount we're paying him. So he's going to try to join us at 12:15 and give us an injury update. We may or we may not have him, but I think the three of us are capable enough to update you. We can't give you a breakdown of exactly what those injuries mean, but we can at least give you an idea of who's in and who's out this week. So
Yeah, it's not that hard. I think we can figure it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're no doctors or anything, but I mean, we'll manage to get through it. So I'm going to tweet out again now the link for anybody watching. This is the time to get your questions in into the comment section. You can ask any of the three of us on Twitter, your start sit advice or things of that nature. I want to give a quick thank you to Sigmund Bloom from Football Guys, who was my guest on my debut episode of Hanging Einstein, which is an interview show that I'm going to be doing on a weekly basis. Sigmund was nice enough to join me and be my first guest, and if you didn't get a chance to watch that, check that out in the replay. Josh Moore from 4for4.com will be my guest this upcoming week, and that's pretty much how that's going to work. Let's get right into things. I know people tune into this for football, not necessarily to hear us drag on about nonsense. There's a ton of injuries going on, which greatly affects a lot of the matchups. Now we've seen 2 weeks being played in the season, so things are starting to take shape as far as teams and what they're going to be, and offenses, defenses, especially after the crazy week one, and maybe even crazier week two. Things kind of the picture's a little bit better painted right now. So I'm going to ask Tahal. I'm going to start with one of your guys on your list. And it's interesting to me because Marshawn Lynch is one of the question marks this week. The Seahawks did just sign Cam Chancellor. I know you're very happy and thrilled about that. But Marshawn Lynch now is nursing a calf injury. And one of the guys you like this week is the undrafted free agent rookie, Thomas Rawls, who came on and kind of seemed to set the tone for them getting rid of Christine Michael, or Christina Michael, as you call him. I know Rawls is a guy you like. Is the tea kicking in yet? Are you ready to go full Bedek and support one of your Seahawks here?
Yeah, I've had a couple sips here. Yeah, the whole reason I was kind of feeling him this week, but it seems more and more like, from what I've been reading, that Lynch is actually going to try to play, which is kind of a bummer for me because this seems like kind of a free victory, free easy win, no matter who's kind of in there for me. Even though we're 0-2, I can still say that with the utmost confidence because it's the Bears. The Jimmy Clausen is starting. Jeffrey's out. The team is in shambles. The defense is one of the worst I've ever seen. Who cares who's at running back? But yeah, Rawls, he's nothing spectacular, but he's a guy who I kind of thought if the game flow goes like people are predicting and the Seahawks are smashing him, I mean, he might end up with a lot of carries whether Lynch plays or not, but that's a little too risky for my taste as far as regular leagues. But, if Lynch sits, I think he'd have a really nice day because, I mean, as you've seen, the Bears' defense is totally inept. Like that David Johnson TD run that everybody's so excited about. Oh, David Johnson. My sister could have ran that in for a touchdown from 20 yards out.
It's all right.
Oh,
you can curse.
Johnson, he's so exciting. I'm like, who wouldn't have scored that? That was the worst defense I've ever seen. So, Rawls, Yeah, to me, it's just a dude, like a really low cost dude and a kind of intriguing guy. If Lynch were to miss the game, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he would even play to risk further damaging that unless it's really not an issue. So if he misses the game or something, like you got to get or here he's going to miss the game. You got to get Rawls in for like DFS stuff or something else, just because there's an upside of a big day for a really cheap dude.
I mean, but does that mean you're totally off the Fred Jackson?
He's a third down back. He's 34 years old. They're not gonna pound him the ball. They want to save him throughout the whole season. That's what people are confused. That's what people on Roto World. That's what everyone's confused. That's not living low cal like me and has the inside scoop. They're not going to give this dude? Why would they destroy Fred Jackson's body just for one game? Because Lynch is out. What would be the point? They'll just keep him in his same. He'll probably he'll get more carries than usual, but I think Rawls would end up with more.
All right. Well, as you said, you got the inside track on it. You are in Seattle.
I didn't hear that from anybody. I'm just my personal opinion.
No, but that's fine. But that's the insight that you bring to this show, which is why people are tuning into us and checking us out, because that is the cutting edge, local take that we want to get. Now, Peyton, I don't know if you have a feeling on the Seahawks backfield right now, being out in Denver, or just maybe not really being that high on Rawls or that down on Lynch. But do you have anything you would want to add to the Marshawn Lynch calf worries? Is he somebody that you're kind of avoiding today, even if he does get the start? That maybe he's going to be limited in his abilities today.
No, I wouldn't say that I would be avoiding him. If he plays, I think he's going to play. I mean, I think nothing's going to hold him back. You got to assume, like Paul said, Bears defense is awful, so you got to assume that he's going to get in the end zone at least once or twice. And I got to agree. I don't think they're going to trot out Fred Jackson at any point if they're up big, like everyone thinks it's going to be. So Rawls does become an intriguing DFS play at a cheap price. But Lynch is in. I'm going with him. I like Rawls too if Lynch is out, or if the DFS play, even if Lynch is playing.
All right. Well, I'll shift it over to you for a second then, and we'll keep it with the running back. Another big name running back, preseason favorite of a lot of people. He's a guy that's on your dislike list this week, and that's Lamar Miller. Is that more a reflection of his injury with his ankle, or is that the Buffalo Bills defense that he's about to take on?
A little bit of both, and really I'm kind of just down on Lamar Miller to begin with. If you look at his stats since he came into the league, he's only had over 20 carries one time, which is not something you like out of a running back, especially this year where he is the workhorse. You think he would be the workhorse, and he's not putting up over even close to 20 carries. Bills' defense is great. And another thing you got to look at with Lamar Miller is after his 12th carry, his yards per carry gets cut in half. It goes from, I think, 4.7 to 2.2 or something like that. And so for a workhorse running back, you don't want it against a grinding Bills defense. I mean, Miller's just not a good play. I think you got to avoid him. And then he's got the injury on top of it. Who knows how he's going to react to a knee. I'm avoiding him at all costs.
All right. Fair enough. I think I'm avoiding him as well, in part because of the injury, in part because of the matchup in Buffalo. I like Tannehill and Landry from that offense today, but we'll get into that later. Sticking with the running backs and the dislikes, we're going to try to roll through as many guys as we can today. Tahal, you have Devonta Freeman on your list of likes, I believe. Is that correct, or is it dislikes? No, it's on your list of likes. I personally don't like him at all this week, given his matchup, given that he's going to, with Coleman out, either get the bulk of the work, or he's going to lose some touches to Teron Ward maybe. But give me a reason why. Teron Ward, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, well, exactly. It seems like Atlanta loves diminutive running backs because he's another small guy, short in height, but thick in stature. But anyway, give me.
Yeah, I mean, he might not get all the carries, but he's great. What he's really good at is catching the ball out of the backfield, catching the short stuff, and getting up the field a little bit. I mean, he vultured a little 2-yard TD last week. I need Matt Ryan to throw a TD, and they let Freeman run it in. Dallas's defense has been insanely solid somehow. I'm still trying to make make sense of why I give Rod Marinelli the Coach of the Year. The guy's done an incredible job. It's amazing. I don't understand it. But, yeah, I just like him. I think Dallas's defense is softer than, they've been. So, and then with as much as the passing, I don't think he's going to run for 100 yards, but he could run for 40, 50 yards and have another 50 yards receiving and maybe get a touchdown somehow. I just think he's having a nice day, PPR status, PPR-wise. I like him in DFS. I like him everywhere.
All right, fair enough. You sold me.
And Lamar Miller, dude, before the season, I'm like, why? I literally dogged this guy so hard in my rankings that people were like, dude, you can't do this. What are you doing? You don't know what you're talking about. Like, I literally got talked into moving the guy up like 7 spots in my rankings because people were just going off. Everybody's saying how good. I'm like, dude, this guy lets us down every single time he ever plays, dude. I don't even know how he ended up with 1,000 yards last season, but he just doesn't have it. What I'm looking for in a star running back. He's a real disappointment, man. I'm more upset that I let people control my gut feeling. They took it away from me, and now I look dumb.
And no worries. And listen, I just realized in watching what was going on here, I messed up with the overlays this week. So on the split box, I still have NFL Week 2. So if you're watching and you're getting confused why it's going back and forth between Week 3 and Week 2, that's my error. I'm going to keep it on just the single cams then for the rest of the show, and I'll try to go back and forth between myself and the guests on the panel. But get into another guy, big name, huge name, probably one of the biggest controversial draft picks of the entire 2015 season, makes his return today, and that, of course, is Le'Veon Bell. Now, he's going up against the Rams. He's on my like list. I've seen a lot of people talking about ranking him as the number 1 running back this week. And initially I was looking at it against the Rams, who are considered to be a top defense, which they are. We saw what they did against Seattle in Week 1. But if you look at the statistics, they've been pretty bad against the run. And Bell is pretty unique and dynamic. So I kind of do like him this week. If you got him, you have to play him. You've been waiting for this, so you can't look at it as a matchup thing, especially a guy that you count on as one of your studs. Full on board with Le'Veon, but I'm talking more as far as DFS plays. If he's got a strong matchup or not, I think you got to go with it regardless. He's got a lot to prove. He's got some catching up to do. He's missed the first 2 weeks. As I mentioned, the Rams defense isn't that solid. Peyton, you have a take on Le'Veon Bell? Do you think he's somebody that you would worry about the Rams defense, or do you feel comfortable with him in all formats this week?
No, I'm comfortable with him in all formats. Like you said, the Rams defense on paper is great, and really it's their pass rush that's really good. But they got run all over by the Redskins last week, and as we saw on Thursday night, the Redskins couldn't run against the Giants defense, which is mediocre at best. So, yeah, no kidding. So, you gotta play Bell, and Bell's been itching to get out there. The Steelers' offense has been so dynamic this year already. Their defense is awful, so you got to think the Rams are going to be able to put up some points. So they're going to lean on Bell in every part of the game, and it's actually nice that D'Angelo Williams is having a pretty solid game or a pretty solid year so far, so they can throw him in a little earlier, and so Bell will be fresh the whole game. So I think Bell's a must play in everything, especially if you're looking to go for one of those big running backs, spend some money on one of the top guys. I think Bell's your safest bet this week. Just to get the workload.
Okay. Taha, what about you? You have a feeling on Bell this week? You like him? You dislike him? You love him? You hate him?
I love him, man. Le'Veon Bell is a savage, dude. The Rams, as we knew after the huge victory over Seattle, which they usually somehow pull off the last few years, or at least 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 or something. They always show up to play against Seattle, and then they always follow it up with an absolute dud. Like this last week, it's just embarrassing. Like Jeff Fisher, the most overrated coach of all time. Why are you still there? What's going on? I don't get it. This team sucks. But yeah, man, Le'Veon Bell is the best running back in the NFL, in my opinion. I said it before it became consensus fact. Not that I'm trying to take credit for it, but I just watched the guy, and he looks like he's more talented than any other running back in the NFL, in my opinion, at least all around. And yeah, I think he'll be just fine. I'm sure he's been practicing and in shape and whatever. He's just can you practice when you're suspended? I don't know. Either way, I'm sure he's in game shape. He's going to be ready to go. I don't think he's going to be on a huge snap count, though. He might not play like every freaking down like he used to the last couple of years until he gets back into the full swing of things. But he's got to be up there with some of the best plays. As you said, the Rams' defense against the run is totally inept. Matt Jones got up in their ass, and then Matt Jones laid the egg last night or Thursday night, let everybody down, let me down, let my family down, let his family down. It's a disaster, man. I don't know.
Well, listen. First of all, I love when you give your take and your opinion, which is why I'm so happy that you're a part of what we're doing here. But I don't. I hope I didn't paint the picture that Le'Veon Bell should be sat in any way, shape, or form.
No, I didn't feel that at all. Even though I wasn't really listening because I was walking around trying to turn the lights up. But I don't know what you said, but I didn't figure that you said that.
No, well, that's fine. But for anybody listening, I meant.
Oh, you weren't talking to me. I'm sorry.
I'm always talking to you, man. I meant simply from a DFS standpoint. But let's move on. Le'Veon's back. The controversy was really, should he be drafted first overall, second, third, based on the 2 games he's missing. Well, those games are history now. He's good to go. So I'm going to kick it back.
Would you still say that? Sorry to interrupt. Would you still think he'd be number 1? Because I'm trying to think. We got Adrian Peterson, who had 1 dud and 1 solid game, but no score. Hill's been a dud. What else?
Charles has been solid, but not nothing spectacular. He's been solid, but
yeah. So you probably still feel decent about Bell. Right?
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, after 2 weeks, things are kind of leveling out. People are expecting DeMarco Murray kind of production from a first-round pick, which was just so completely rare what he did last year and basically averaging 100 yards a game. Like, that's just almost ridiculous consistency. And, you're going to have your short weeks. So, anyway, we'll get into some of that later. But, Peyton, I'm gonna kick it back to you. Another guy you like this week. I love the jersey you have on, by the way. You want to show everybody that?
Andre.
You want to show everybody that jersey?
I have him in every league, I think. Every league because of you.
Really? All right. Well,
who's that? Andre?
DeAndre.
Oh, Dion. Yeah, let's go. I need a big day from him.
Yeah,
there we go.
D-Hop. Well, none of us have Hopkins on our list for this week. I think he's a no-brainer from most of the guys here at Nickel Press that he just should be played in every opportunity you get to play him on a week-to-week basis. It looks like he is going to go. He had a concussion this week, but it looks like he cleared concussion protocol, and he'll be good to go. But I was going to get into one of the guys you liked, and that's another young receiver. I'm talking about Allen Robinson. He's got somewhat of a tough matchup against New England. New England secondary still kind of, making their way. Revamped this season, had 2 games now under their belt. But Allen Robinson kind of was on the MIA list after week 1, after a lot of people expected him to be a breakout star. And then week 2, he just came and dominated and really showed us what he's capable of. So now he heads into week 3. Like I said, it's a questionable matchup, but after last week, you got to feel good about it, his chances. So Peyton, he winds up on your like list. Why are you so high on Allen Robinson this week?
Well, I think I'm a little bit high on him because he actually absolutely burned me last week. I said he was going to have a terrible week. Thought the matchup was bad against Miami, and he made me look like an idiot. So I think I'm maybe swayed a little bit more to pump his tires this week. But in terms of the matchup, I think the matchup's actually pretty decent because I think the Patriots are going to get up pretty big on the Jags at home, kind of just like the Seahawks would against the Bears. So you're going to look for Bortles to throw the ball a lot. And Robinson's a big play guy. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the size. So if you're looking at especially DFS leagues, if you're looking for a bigger tournament or something like that, you need some big points. Robinson's a great upside play to get a lot of points there. So, I mean, I have no problem with going against a good defense. And really, they're not great defensively, especially in the pass game. Tyrod Taylor tore him apart last week. Roethlisberger tore him apart week 1. Their offense is just so good, so no one really notices how bad Pat's D is. But I'm all about Jags players. I even like Allen Hurns on the other side of the ball for the Jags this week. I think they'll have to pass a lot. They'll need to score points, and Bortles probably won't be great, but gotta hope for the receivers to do something.
Yeah, and I think you bring up an interesting point that their offense is so great that they're going to put points on the board. So chances are Jacksonville is going to be playing from behind, and Robinson stands to get a large portion of those targets in that work, trying to play catch up. Since we're talking about Allen Robinson, he is another high profile guy. Tahal, do you have a feeling on A-Rob this week?
Hey, man, I like him a lot, man. I had him ranked really high week 1. He obviously let me down, made me look like a fool. 1 catch for 26 yards or whatever it was. It felt like just a POS, man. I felt terrible, man. But then next week he rebounds and goes all up in Grimes' ass, and I thought Grimes was supposed to be that dude, so I was kind of surprised. I was kind of expecting, like I think Peyton just said this, but I think I was expecting kind of a not that great of a week, because, Grimes is, in my opinion, one of the better guys. Maybe he's fallen off. Maybe Robinson's just that big of a freak. He looks pretty nasty to me. I don't know. So, yeah, the Patriots secondary, it's not a bad matchup. I guess it's just the Patriots pass rush is become kind of elite with Chandler Jones kind of coming into his own here. It's kind of bothering me. But the secondary can be beat. It can be roasted. I don't trust it at all. They lost the best corner in the game. Lost Browner. I mean, they got Butler back there. I saw him getting roasted out there. I saw a bunch of these guys getting roasted. Watkins was going off. Everybody was going deep on him. Tyrod throwing those picture-perfect deep balls. Bortles might slang it. All I keep reading about is, we're going to ride Yeldon this week. I'm like, are you going to do that when you're down 21-0 in the first quarter? Like, they're going to have to throw it. So somebody's got to catch it. Peyton said it. Hearns, too. I like him, too. So either one of them could have a big week.
All right. Fair enough.
Sorry to ramble there. I'm not thinking straight.
No, that's fine. I was going to actually ask you what's the fascination with roasting things in Seattle, because you used the word several times, and you guys obviously roast a lot of coffee out there.
Roast a lot of coffee up there.
Yeah.
A lot of roasted beans.
What time is it in Denver right now? Is it late? Is it like?
I'm just an hour in front of you.
Okay. That's not too late.
I'm the only one that's had a full night's sleep. But anyway, let's keep this rolling. We got a few people watching us. We have a few questions coming in. Melissa Coyne wanted to know about a guy, Brandon Cooks, who we're going to talk probably at a little bit of length right now on. But before we get into that, she wanted us to not encourage Peyton, that his head is already big enough. So I don't know, Peyton, if this is a personal thing or what your status is with Melissa Coyne, but she seems to think that your head is plenty big enough as it is already, so we'll leave it at that. Brandon Cooks.
My sister give me shit already.
It's early. I know, it's early. Well, Brandon Cooks. Okay, so here's a guy, and like I said, we're gonna get into him for probably at length right now, because I know he's on Tahal's list as biggest surprise in his opinion is how big of a bust Brandon Cooks has been. Brandon Cooks, depends on where you are, what side of the fence you were on. People were attaching his production to Breeze, and a healthy Cooks and a healthy Breeze would dominate this year. Breeze obviously is out now. He's not healthy. But even with the healthy Breeze, Cooks hasn't really done much in the first 2 weeks. It could be the effects of Jimmy Graham not being in that offense. It could be the effects of everybody else around him being either old or a little outdated as far as the receiving core goes. So either of you want to start with this, or should I pick one of you? I know Tahal has a lot to say about Brandon. Well, he has a lot to say about everybody. So I'm gonna let Peyton start though, since it was a question from Melissa about Brandon Cooks, and there seems to be some personal beef there with Peyton. So Peyton, why don't you go and start with your take on Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, first of all, I hate giving Melissa advice since she's in my family league. She's my sister-in-law, so I feel like this is a little bit cheating, but I'll help her out. Then I'll let Tahal kind of ramble with them. I actually don't mind Cooks this week. I think whenever you get a backup quarterback coming into the game, they tend to lean on, the number one receiver. Not necessarily getting the ball all the time, but at least looking their way. And so I think Cooks is going to be a big part of the game plan. It's just hard for me to throw him into every lineup that I have, because he's been disappointing this year with Breeze, and so you're like, all right, well, Luke McCown's in now. How is he going to do any better? But I think the targets are going to be there, and he's got the big playability. So I mean, if you're looking at maybe your flex spot, or third receiver or something like that, I think it's a pretty good play, but I'm not saying that with a lot of confidence.
All right, I want to point out something a little related to Cooks and as far as the Saints go. New Orleans was a 9.5-point favorite last week. They were the highest favorite of the week, and they basically eliminated probably 3/4 of most knockout pools, suicide pools, elimination pools, however you want to phrase it. Breeze got knocked out. And then on top of all that, so now they went from a 9.5-point favorite last week. They are now 9.5-point underdogs at Carolina. At Carolina. Think about that for a second. Carolina, who's now out of Kelvin Benjamin. Kotchery is not at play today. Jonathan Stewart is a little iffy as always. He should play, but he's a little iffy as always. Devin Funchess is your main receiver. And they're 9.5-point favorites. I just think that speaks volumes to the state that New Orleans is in right now. Team, all around team. Their defense has been horrible, and their offense is not doing them any favors as well. So, all right, now that Tahal's had a chance to get another cup of his tea, I'm going to turn it over to him to give you some Brandon Cooks info.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, including myself, was real high on the Cook stock this year. With Graham being out of there, everyone thought he was going to be. I thought he might catch 100 balls and just go nuts. I've been following him from the Pac-12. I live out here in Washington State, so I've been following him for a long time. He's been at Oregon State, been a great player. Love the fit in New Orleans. Love the fit in the offense, and it's just not happening, man. I mean, he's not getting it done. He's not a big target, so I was kind of worried about his red zone targets regardless. That's not happening. And now with Breeze banged up, not looking like himself, and now missing this game, I wonder how long this – I mean, if the injury keeps him out for any prolonged amount of time, we'll have to really see what Luke McCown's doing. The same Luke McCown that I saw like a month ago on TV on a commercial. I'm like, what the F is this guy doing on TV, man? How did this guy get the commercial? He's not even like a cool backup. Like, why is this guy getting TV money? It's not fair. It's not fair to the cool backups like my boy Chase Daniel out there at KC. That guy deserves a starting job. Somebody get it to him.
That was the best commercial of the week, though. I loved it.
DeMarco Murray's officially ruled out.
Really?
All right, add DeMarco Murray to the list. All right, I mean, so –
did I even answer the question? Oh, yeah, Cooks. Yeah, I don't.
I don't think you did answer the question. So stay
right,
with Brandon Cooks. Stay focused.
I'm not playing him anywhere this week. I've got a ton of questions about that on my posts or whatever, on my column thing or whatever. So, yeah, and it's a tough call because, I mean, people are throwing out like these kind of bums or these other second-string running backs, and I'm just like, jeez, man, do I really have to bench Cook? I think he might have an okay amount of targets. We'll see, man. I don't know enough about Luke McCown. I haven't been watching his college tape recently. I'm not sure where he's at.
This is a little off topic, but you guys, I want to mention Josh Hill for a minute. Probably this is the only forum he's going to be mentioned all week in any show, radio, podcast, or other. But this was like a highly sought after sleeper tight end pick. And he's basically done absolutely nothing. And I think that, like I said, it goes to the whole Saints offense. Cooks, Colston, Brandon Coleman's been the best, weapon you can get out of there. Mark Ingram's, play is going to be affected by that as well. Although I still do like him in, most weeks. But, I mean, does anybody want to add anything to New Orleans before we shift gears here?
I'm mad at you that you brought up Josh Hill. He's garbage.
Oh, my God. Oh, Josh. Dude, yeah. Before the season, people are right. I mean, I'm reading articles like how this guy, they're showing like his NFL combine measurables. Be like, actually, he's even more athletic than Jimmy Graham. Oh, he's even better at this than Jimmy Graham. I'm like, dude, we've seen the guy play. He's not Jimmy Graham. But, some people had him as a big sleeper this year. I mean, I kind of bought into it a little bit. I had him still ranked in the late 20s, I think, or something like that before the season. But, yeah, what a big disappointment because even he played a little bit last year, and it's not like they added anything to the position. I mean, I don't understand how he's not getting looks if he is this great athlete. Even if he's not, who else do they have? I mean, he's a big body. He should be getting something. I don't understand it.
Well, it's because he's not like Jimmy Graham in the sense that
Right.
more like a traditional tight end. I think if you look at all his catches last year, it was on play action rollouts from the 3-yard line. Like, okay, you get a touchdown pass and put 6 points up on the board for no one that you've never heard of him before. I mean, Benjamin Watson, who's been in the league since 1982, I think, has been playing more than Jimmy Graham role. So, I mean, Josh Hill is awful.
Benjamin, Watson, that guy's been a second stringer for like 10 years. I mean, that guy was a disappointment when he got drafted, like in the second round. I remember when he got drafted, like in the second round, I believe, like way back in the day by New England or something. Like, I mean, this guy's been around, was kind of not a full-on bust by any means, but definitely didn't live up to what kind of they were hoping to be, and he's somehow hanging around. Now he's living the dream, somehow a starting tight end in the NFL again at age 46.
I gotta look up how much money he's made on his career, because it's just he's played the game right. I think.
Hey guys, time out.
Mediocre tight end for 10 years.
Guys, time out. I didn't mean to make this the Josh Hill hour. As I mentioned, this is probably the only show he's going to be talking about at all. I just had him in mind because we were talking about the Saints, and I was looking at some of my rosters this week where I got him in dynasty leagues at the end of last season, and basically could have probably got second and third round picks for him that I held off of, and now it's looking like a big zero. But before we shift gears, and I do want to shift gears off the Saints, but Melissa wanted to add, she followed up with, if you sit Cooks, do I take a chance on Wheaton or James Jones on Monday night? And I honestly, my take on that, James Jones is entirely touchdown dependent. Then again, he could very well have like 6 touchdowns already this season. So it seems to be that volume is there. I like him to continue that pace. Maybe not keep up that pace, but at least factor in to possibly get a touchdown, which makes him a play for me. Wheaton, I've never been really high on Wheaton, and that kind of goes back to the Brandon Cooks thing. I thought Brandon Cooks was so good that he made Wheaton a star in college at Oregon State with Sean Mannion throwing them balls. Speaking of Oregon State, anybody see Seth Collins? True freshman quarterback who's a stud there. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but Marcus Wheaton can't even beat out Darius Haywood-Bay for the number 2 role in Pittsburgh. And, Martavis Bryant comes back next week. I personally don't like Wheaton if I had James Jones as an option. I mean, it kind of, I could see either of them outplaying the other. But if I had to choose one of the two, I'd probably take James Jones. Tahal, you have a feeling on James Jones versus Marcus Wheaton?
Yeah, I feel like somewhat bad about this, but on the same way, like, everybody.
Hold on.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but before you get into it, this is with the caveat that you are going to bench Brandon Cooks. So Brandon Cooks is still an option. So it's either Cooks.
Jones. Man. I'm still going Brandon Cooks. I felt bad last week, or not really bad, because I was correct. Like you said, he's totally touchdown dependent. I was like, and like James Jones, like everybody's hot waiver wire pickup. I'm like, this guy might have 2 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown, or he might have 2 catches for 30 yards and no touchdowns. I mean, do you really want to start the dude? Like, I mean, that's what the risk you're taking. He had 1 catch. He got the TD. He almost had a second one, which really would have stung me, but he didn't get that. So, yeah, he's totally not going to a target monster by any means. And, he could have he probably will have another couple games where he gets a TD or 2 just because the matchups play that way where the weakest DB is covering him. Rodgers is going to find the weakness. And who was the other guy?
The other guy was Wheaton. Marcus Wheaton, James Jones.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he had 2 catches for 67 yards somehow last week. So he's made a couple nice plays over the first 2 weeks. But, yeah, like as you mentioned, if Haywood-Bay's taking snaps from you, I don't know what to think anymore, man. He just isn't getting it done. When Bryant comes back, Wheaton is maybe Wheaton plays better if he's just more of like the number 3 kind of playing in the slot, because he does have some talent and you can see it from time to time, but he's just not a safe option whatsoever. But against the Rams secondary, I may lean Wheaton over Jones just on a straight up gut call, but I'm still probably got to go Brandon Cooks.
All right, and Peyton, do you have a quick answer? Because I think we've given the New Orleans Saints way too much time today.
I completely agree. I just want to mention something that Ben Watson has made $25 million in his 10-year career, and it is mind blowing to me.
Jiminy Christmas.
I think Bobby Bonilla is still making. I think Bobby Bonilla is still making $25 million a year for the Mets, and he's not even playing. But continue. So real quick, Peyton, Brandon Cooks, James Jones, or Marcus Wheaton? Who you
I think you guys covered it. I mean, Cooks is probably the smarter play. Jones might get you 9 points just because you'll get in the end zone, but if he doesn't get in the end zone, you're looking at 3 or 4. And Wheaton, I mean, you just don't know. It's the Steelers' offense is the only intriguing thing there. I was kind of high on him, being productive in the first 4 weeks with Brian out, but I just don't think he's as talented. He's not a big deep ball threat, so I'd still go Cooks. I think that's a safe play.
All right, sounds good. And City of New Orleans, you can send some money to the Nickel Press Show for being the only show to feature the Saints this week when everybody else is down on them. Now, I want to shift gears.
Are we getting somebody answering questions? I'm sorry, I'm still getting questions on my post thing. I'm like, dude, I can't read the post while I'm doing this thing. You got to send the questions.
No, absolutely. You should use the link that I provided for people on Twitter and tell them this is where we're going to answer your questions. So then that will shift them towards the show.
These guys are still asking. I'm trying to make it clear as humanly possible. I'm still getting questions on Twitter and on this thing, and I'm like, dude, I can't do 3 things at once. Get on the.
Are you providing them with the link though? That's the question I have for you.
I think so. Here, wait. Okay, I found it. Go on. Right. Sorry to interrupt.
You're not, dude. This is your show too. You're not interrupting. So, all right. You mentioned
Okay, no.
You mentioned DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray is out today, which is it's surprising to me that I've seen Ryan Matthews on so many waiver wires and free agent lists because I don't think this is the week to play anybody, especially against the Jets. There's a lot of different ways I could segue this. The Jets are my biggest surprise of the week, just given how good they've been. The Eagles, how bad they've been. DeMarco Murray's now out. I want to ask you guys, what's your opinion on Philly? Like, is this just a slow developing offense with so many new parts to it? Is this an overrated offense? Is Ryan Matthews somebody you want to add? I mean, I don't want to get too off topic because we got some more guys to go over as far as our likes and dislikes. Ties into the start-sit stuff, but. DeMarco Murray is a big name. It's a huge name. Guys are drafting this guy to be your running back 1, and now he's out week 3. So, Taha, give me something on DeMarco Murray.
Something on him, something about him. He looks terrible. I mean, he looks good, man. I thought in the preseason he looked thin, he looked ready to rock. I was like, damn, he looks like he's in great shape. He looked a little thinner, looked like he had a little bit of a burst. Unfortunately for him, the guy can't get out of the backfield because the offensive line looks like dog excrement. I don't know what's going on. It's gross, man. I feel bad for him. I know it's a bummer for him. He probably wanted to have a huge game in Dallas last week, or against Dallas at home last week in Philly. I had him slated for a big week. I think him at a top 5 play. Made me look bad. Anytime somebody makes me look bad, I get angry and I get upset and I get sad and whatever. So, I don't like it. And I don't like what's happening there in Philly. I didn't like the matchup at all today, obviously, against the Jets defense, which looks really solid. It's not that big of a deal. I wouldn't have been starting. I don't really own him anywhere. I wouldn't have been starting him. Today is not the day to be starting him in DFS anyway. But if you do own him, hopefully you got him handcuffed with Matthews or something like that. And if you're in a full season league and you need a backup for him or something, because if you drafted him real high, it's not looking good for you right now, just because it's all on the offensive line.
All right, and you know what? I didn't mean to put you
on the play calling.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that with DeMarco Murray. Just say here, talk about him. But I was more surprised.
Do that again. Did you get the question that I tweeted at you guys?
No, but I got another question from one of my followers, Blaze Kane, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I am going to transition here. You mentioned DeMarco Murray. It's a big name, like I said. We're going to get into the injuries in a little bit. But the Jets are my biggest story. Obviously, that's my hometown team. I am a Jet fan. So there.
Are you related to Fireman Ed?
I am. I am not, but I have crossed paths with him on the job, and he's a good dude. I like Fireman Ed. He represents the fire department well, and the Jets well. Um, and speaking,
Well, hold on a second. Hold on a quick second. Why don't I get to trash the Eagles? I mean, I've been looking forward to this all week. I'm talking how bad the Eagles are.
Time out. That's where I'm going with this, because actually it's funny you mentioned
Good.
you mentioned Fireman Ed, and the last image I have of Fireman Ed in my head is of Brandon Marshall coming over to him and patting him on the head. And Brandon Marshall is on my Jets, who are my surprise of the week, and they're playing Philly, which you get to trash. And Brandon Marshall happens to be one of Peyton's big likes for this week. So Peyton, I hope that just basically gave you a whole ball of wax to play with right now.
Yeah, sorry. I'll give you some more credit. I did see you working that back in. Well, I'll start with Brandon Marshall then, just because I'm going to save my Phillies rant, or my Eagles rant here first in a second. But love Brandon Marshall this week. I'm really actually surprised on him this year. A lot of people were down on him. I was looking at drafts where he was dropping. I mean, it's the 10th round, basically, a lot of things. And Ryan Fitzpatrick being the quarterback over Geno Smith, it's the best thing that's happened to him. Gets to play Byron Maxwell this week, who looks like the worst player in the league and shows that he was just kind of part of a great Seattle defense last year and can't cover a number one receiver to save his life. So big on Brandon Marshall this week. I think the Jets dominate the Eagles. Watching the Eagles suck is way better, almost as good, I would say, than the Cowboys being good. And with Romo being out, having the Eagles suck makes that blow feel a little better, or a little less. So I think the Eagles, they can't block anyone. That's what everyone thought at the beginning of the year. They give away all their guards. They don't draft anyone. Chip comes and gets these big name players who are good in systems, kind of running backs. They get young receivers, but if no one can block, it doesn't matter who the hell is your skill receiver or your skilled players at all. So Eagles are awful. They're going to go 0-3. They might win 8 games this year. I hope they don't. They suck. Period.
Well, you mentioned Geno Smith. I said that as well. When Geno went out, I said that was the best case solution for the Jets, because now they didn't have to deal with the controversy. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is, in my belief, the best quarterback in New York for the team that they have. And so far, it's working out well. But you mentioned Geno. Geno is now back. He's cleared to play. It looks like he's going to be the backup. Hopefully,
you mean Glassjaw?
What's that?
You mean Glassjaw?
Yes, Glassjaw Glassjaw Smith, Glassjaw Geno. He should be the backup again now until something needs to be changed. So hopefully things keep rolling for the Jets. Let me shift gears a little now with another guy. I am high on this season. He's a rookie, Amari Cooper. I was blown away by what he did with Derek Carr last week, especially given Derek Carr coming back with a hand injury on his throwing hand. But now he goes into Cleveland today with one of the most interesting and intriguing matchups of the week, at least in my opinion, where he gets to take on shutdown corner extraordinaire Joe Hayden. And that's because of that, I'm down on Amari Cooper this week. I will not be looking to have him in my lineups. Same thing with Derek Carr. I do conversely think Latavius Murray will be able to be a strong play this week and run on the Browns. But I don't think the Raiders are going to be in a position to be passing or throwing the ball out, at least not kind of the shootout they were with Baltimore last week. Tahal, and I don't mean to keep going to Tahal because, Peyton, I know you're here too, but you know what? Screw you, Tahal. I'm going to Peyton first. Peyton, what do you feel about Amari Cooper this week? Is he somebody that you would be comfortable playing, or are you fearing that Joe Hayden matchup?
No, I haven't really. I mean, I think Joe Hayden's solid. I think he's a little overhyped just because he's been solid for the last 4 or 5 years, and so I just don't think he's a shutdown guy like a Revis where you're avoiding whoever's going against him. Amari Cooper's been really good. I think he's turned into Derek Carr's favorite player. to throw to. So I like him. He's not going to be my number one guy by any means, but it's my second, third, or even a flex. I'm playing Cooper. Brown's defense is better, but than last year they're not great, and I don't even think Joe Hayden's going to follow Cooper around. I think he's going to play his side because there's still a Crabtree out there who's still a legitimate receiver. So I think they just stick on their sides. I don't think he follows Cooper.
All right. And Taha, I'm sorry. I would never sincerely mean to tell you off. So I hope you know that was all tongue in cheek.
The people want more Taylor. They want him more. They want more Tall.
Bedek speaks. I know. That's why.
What are we talking about?
You got some comments on. You got some comments on the show that they need more of you in the show. Apparently.
Yes, more Bedek.
Yeah, I think that was one person. It was some dude. This one dude who just harasses me on Twitter constantly.
No, more Bedek more Bedek is a prerequisite for life. But Taha, I'm going to go back to my Jets because you have Bilal Powell as a strong play this week.
Well,
I think that has a lot to do with Chris Ivory's health. But before you get into that, did you want to field anything as far as the Amari Cooper Joe Hayden matchup? Or,
yeah, Amari Cooper. Yeah, he made me look like a clown last week when I was like, "Oh, my boy Jimmy Smith's going to put him on lockdown." That was also before I kind of thought David Carr was going to play. I thought McGloin was going to be out there, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like that match. I don't like that matchup at all." Jimmy Smith is one of my favorite corners. He got roasted by Cooper earlier, so a lot of people are probably upset with me if they had benched Cooper for somebody else because I was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't start him." So I'm on Cooper every week now. At this point, Hayden, as Hayden said, Hayden's a tad overrated in my opinion. He's a pretty solid dude, but I think he's up there paid like he's one of the very, very best in the game. I'm not quite sure he's at that level realistically. So yeah, Cooper's a must at this point. It looks like a must start. Yeah, Carr's just feeding him heavy. Although I like the run game this week, I think hopefully Latavius Murray has his big breakout game. I'm waiting for it. I'm hoping for it. I'm praying for it.
Well, I'm praying with you, and I think Latavius Murray is a strong play this week, so I get him into lineups. Walk me down the Bilal Powell road with you, though.
Oh yeah, before I thought Ivory. I thought I was reading stuff saying Ivory was for sure or almost certainly missing the game, so I just assumed Powell would be there in a bunch. I know Zach Stacy, who nobody was talking about. I thought Stacy would have even been an interesting play to some extent, but I thought Powell would have been in there more than usual and at least catch a bunch of balls or be on the field more. So he was an interesting play, a real cheap play. But if Ivory's playing, then not even a big question.
And it looks like Ivory will be a go. Eric Decker is out for the Jets this week, but it looks like Ivory will be a go. And my feeling is with football players especially, if they play, you can't look at it as will they be limited or not, because if they're in the lineup to play, that means they're a full go. Now something could happen during the game, something could be re-aggravated, whatever the case is, but if the injury remains what it is, so if they're at 90% and they're playing on the 90% ankle or whatever the case is, they're the player you want, even at 90%. That's just my personal take on injuries.
Yeah, I feel that's normally the case. This year, I feel like we're getting bad luck. I mean, we had the C.J. Anderson thing where I'm like, yeah, he's totally fine, he's good to go, and then he drops a dud. And then Mike Evans, he plays last week. You got to think, against New Orleans, yeah, he's gonna have 0 catches or whatever. It's like, jeez, it's like because usually, yeah, I'm with you. Like you got to start these guys if they're active, because you don't want to have a big game because you benched him because he's banged up. But bad luck so far, but it'll turn around.
All right. All right. So let me go back to a couple guys we like and dislike this week. Again, we got about a half hour to go, a little less, before we may or may not be joined by the fantasy doctor, Dr. Parekh. We're going to do injury reports at 12:15, whether he's here or not. So we'll walk you through some of the big news today as it's updating. So let me go back into some of these likes and dislikes. And then after the injury report at 12:15, about 12:30 or so, when we wrap up with the injuries, we'll start fielding all these start-sit questions that we're getting asked in the comment section, that we get asked on our Twitter timelines and whatnot. So Peyton, turn it back to you. You have Nick Foles as a guy you like this week. So what is it? Why do you like Napoleon Dynamite?
Well, I mean, look at the last two quarterbacks that played the Steelers this year: Brady and Kaepernick. Going to both off, and I mean, you could argue that Brady's the best quarterback in the league, and Kaepernick's towards the bottom half. So you really can't. I'm not really judging on their skill, saying that both of them are top quarterbacks, and that's the only reason they're putting up points. The Steelers' defense is no good, and their offense is really good. So kind of like the Patriots, you figure that the Steelers are going to put up a lot of points, and so the Rams are going to have to throw the ball. I think they'll try and run it early just to kind of possess it, but they're going to get down. And Foles is going to have to throw it around, and he looked pretty good in their first week against the Seahawks. And like Paul said, they always lay an egg right after they get a big win against the Seahawks, and he looked pretty miserable against actually a formidable Redskins defense. So I think they're going to have to throw. He might throw a couple picks. Don't be surprised if he does, but he'll probably go for over 300 and a couple touchdowns. So, especially DFS leagues, I mean, you can get him pennies on the dollar. So, I would go after him.
All right, and now staying with you, Peyton, I'm going to get into one of your dislikes, and that is this is a big one, is the Eddie Lacy, James Starks combination. So I'm assuming you just dislike the Green Bay backfield this week. Is that more an indication of the Chiefs? Is that an indication of Lacy's health status, the Monday night game? What's your reason for that?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. I don't like the matchup against the Chiefs. I made that clear last week, and why I said don't play C.J. Anderson. They're really good against the run. Their pass defense isn't great. But, I mean, more importantly, I hate playing a running back where they're saying, he's going to get his carries cut into because of the injury. He might not get a full workload. To me, that says he's not 100% healthy. And if you're a running back, why are you going to risk that? It's going to be hard to bench Lacy, especially as your number one pick. But so if he plays, you probably are going to throw him in there. But DFS stuff, I think you got to stay away. Maybe you go with Starks. If Lacy doesn't play, I would probably go with Starks in some DFS leagues just because you're going to get he's going to get some catches out of the backfield, and he'll get a workload. But I hate playing a running back that's going to split time, and that's what all reports are saying is going to happen with Lacy this week if he plays.
All right, good enough. That works for me. Taha, I'm going to go back to you. We did your likes. I'm going to start getting into your dislikes. So you have another two quarterbacks. You seem to be the quarterback guru of the show. Every week, the majority of your likes and dislikes come at the quarterback position. So the final two guys I asked for your list this week happen to be quarterbacks, and I'll give them both to you so you can field this how you want to field it. But that's Sam Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater, who's just one of my favorite players in general, fantasy or indifferent. So you got Sam Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater on your list of guys you dislike for NFL Week 3. Why?
Well, why? I mean, I think the Bradford one is obvious, man. The Jets defense looks great. The secondary looks really good, and Bradford looks really bad. Bradford looks like Doug Moore in a uniform out there. I'm confused. The guy doesn't look like he should be out on the football field, man. I'm confused. Now he's going against Revis, who is a little bit banged up, which nobody was really talking about. But it looks like he's going to play. Marty's back. Everybody's back there. So I think he's gonna have a tough day. But sometimes these guys show up to play when everyone thinks they're gonna have a tough day. They have a great day. I don't think today's that day. I don't think Bradford has a good game. And the other guy was who?
Teddy
Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, everybody loves Teddy Bridgewater, like fantasy. Or like, I mean, I went on somebody's podcast this last fall or last summer anyway. Sorry, this last spring, summer, whatever. And people are like, I have Teddy Bridgewater as a top 10 play. He's going to be this and that. And I'm like, why? Dude? I mean, I like it. I like him. Everybody's a huge fan. I don't know why. I don't see it. I don't understand it. He's solid. I don't see superstar there. That's just me. I don't like. Sorry, San Diego's got great couple DBs. And their weakness is against the run. And Weddle's out there. They got the two corners, Verrett and Flowers out there. So I really like their defensive backs. It's just their weakness is in the run. So I think Adrian Peterson gets fed a lot again this week. So I'm just not feeling Bridgewater. Again, I don't know. I'm confused as to why Bridgewater gets so much love. I think Carr. I think Bortles ends up being better than him, and possibly Carr also.
Well, I was going to answer your question. I think the reason Teddy Bridgewater gets so much love is he's got that baby face, so he looks like he could be like your little brother, or your little cousin, or something. Kind of adorable. Even how weird that might sound coming from me. There's also for college football fans the lasting image of him limping up to the line, being carried by his linemen, in a 2-minute drill, 2-minute drive. I forgot what game it was, but I know it was a meaningful
Who did
game.
they choke against in what should have been an undefeated season in that weak-ass schedule? Who did they lose to? That's all I remember.
Honestly, I don't remember. It goes far back.
That's all I can remember is them losing to a team they shouldn't have lost to.
Well, to add to that, though, he was supposed to go to Miami to be the quarterback. I'm a Hurricane fan. So that's another reason for me, and I know there's a big legion of Hurricanes fans. So I think there's just a lot of different boxes that you could check off on the Bridgewater fan club, and then
right.
On top of it, one more. I'll give you one more. Just watching him kind of free fall in the draft, being the last pick of the first round last year. I think people felt a little bad for him. So anyway, enough about Teddy.
Teddy.
Well, you mentioned Sam Bradford, and I'm going to stay on him for a second, even though it's not a like or dislike. And I just had a question from Scott, the Money Badger, on Twitter. Is Nelson Aguilar still a hold in a 12-team standard league? And I got to be honest with you, like this for me is a tough question because I had Nelson Aguilar as one of my top 5 rookie wide receivers. I thought he was going to be phenomenal this season, in that high-powered, high-octane Philly offense. But Bradford is really, raising a lot of, questions for me, just in terms of his grasp of that offense, his long-term health. I'm not so sure Mark Sanchez wouldn't be the better fit, and I know that takes it back to me being a Jet fan, everything like that. And, that's not rhetoric. That's me really believing that Mark Sanchez is still a good quarterback. But Aguilar at this point, like in a 12-team standard league, in a redraft league, it depends on who you have to cut. It depends on who you'd be picking up to replace him. I'd certainly float him out there in a trade to see if anybody still valuing the name right now. But as far as his production, it's kind of it's on hold right now, and that really has a lot to do with what's going on in Philly with the offense, with DeMarco Murray, with the line, having issues, as Peyton was mentioning earlier. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I'll give you guys both that question. Peyton, I'll start with you. Are you in a 12-team standard league? Are you holding on to Nelson Aguilar still, or are you letting him go?
Well, I have this exact situation in a couple of weeks, so and I'm keeping him. I'm not one to really bail on players, especially young players early in the season. I mean, we're only through 2 weeks, and he only has up to, or he can only go up from here. So, I mean, if you're bailing on him now, you're just wasting a pick, and probably a decently high pick that you took too. So you got to have some other guys lower on your bench that you're looking to that you can get rid of if you really need someone on your team. I just don't think there's any reason to bail on him yet. It's more of a product of the Eagles being terrible right now, which very well could turn around. I mean, the offense, the players are there, so if they can start blocking, the offense might turn around, and he's going to be a big benefactor of it. So I'm not bailing on him yet. Probably wait till at least week 5-6 to really call it quit.
All right, fair enough. And Taha, what about you? You have a take on that? Nelson Aguilar, 12-team standard. Make it quick. You holding? You buying? You selling?
Yeah, I'll probably holding it in a 12-team standard. Yeah, it's like Peyton just said. It's too early to chop him. I'm pretty disappointed in how he looks out there, but I'm pretty disappointed with the whole Eagles in general. So yeah, you got to hold him now.
All right, cool. I'm going to turn it over. I got one more guy on my like list this week, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it. And then we got one more guy on Peyton's dislike list, and then that should bring us right about to the time of Fantasy Doctor. We might have a couple storylines that we can go over. One of the guys, you know what? I'll give it to you, Peyton, first. Andre Johnson is a guy that is on your dislike list for this week. I Andre Johnson, if you missed it. He's another guy I don't really know what to make of. My biggest storyline for this week was basically Andrew Luck and the Colts offense, which seems to be sputtering out of control. Now they haven't had the best schedule to open the season, but still, this guy's supposed to be elite, and he was supposed to be elite because of the weapons he has around him. They're all playing. Hilton hasn't missed any time yet. Andre Johnson's playing. Moncrief's there. Dwayne Allen's the only guy who's really missing anything. But you got Kobe Fleener, who people seem to still believe in. You got Frank Gore. I mean, you got all these weapons in Indianapolis, and the Colts offense is just not hitting on anything yet. And Andre Johnson winds up on your dislike list for week 3. So you don't think this is the week that they turn it around, or are you just down on him for other reasons?
I'm not necessarily. It's not the week that they don't turn it around. I think, like you said, there's so many weapons on that team that it's going to be hard to pick that Andre Johnson's. It's going to be him that's going to be the benefactor. I mean, and really, Moncrief's looked like the best receiver out there for him right now out of all the Colts. And so, if you go Hilton and Moncrief, and all the tight ends, and you got Gore back there. I mean, it's hard for. I was down on Andre at the beginning of the year. I thought where he was getting drafted, I thought it was a little high just because they had so many weapons. This is just not the week where you can say, oh yeah, he's going to get 8 targets this week. He hasn't all year. I don't know why it would change today. I could be wrong. Maybe they turn it around and he goes off and he looks like the Andre of old, but I'm not risking it today. I'm still keeping him on my team. I'm not saying drop him, but I'm not playing him this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, it has to do with just how many weapons are there. And, maybe that's what Luck needs to do. Maybe he needs to start really just concentrating and saying, this is my group. These are the guys. These are my go-to guys. Let me stop trying to spread it around. Let me stop looking at all these different ways I can go. But one of the guys I want to talk about on my like list this week, and I want to get your opinions on this, is Terrence Williams. He was surprisingly undrafted in a lot of leagues leading up to the season. Then when Dez went out in week 1, he was a hot ad for week 2. Then Romo went out, and then kind of question marks obviously still surround the Dallas offense. I know Peyton wanted to talk a little bit about the Dallas offense, but Terrence Williams, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like he's a guy you have to have. I don't know if Brandon Weeden remains the quarterback. I know they got Matt Castle now in Dallas, but Terrence Williams is still a terrific talent, and he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's going to get the targets. He's going to get the volume that you want in a fantasy player. So Terrence Williams, I think he has a good week this week. Who are they playing again? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the list here.
Atlanta.
There you go. In Atlanta, that's why I have him on my like list, because Atlanta's secondary has been not the best, especially for wide receiver ones facing them. So I like Terrence Williams personally this week. Taha, what would you say for Terrence Williams?
I'm a bigger fan of his than most people, and drafted him real high last year, which turned out to be a disaster. Other than he had a pretty nice amount of touchdowns, so there was that. But I really like him as a player. I think he's better than people give him credit for, and he got that TD last week. Although this week, with Weeden, I don't like him nearly as much as I did with Dez being out and Romo there. I thought he was a great play every week. If that was the case, now with Weeden or Matt Castle, whoever gets in there, I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach. My boy plays corner out there for the Falcons. Nasty UW, the DB. I'm so tired. I'm somehow blanking on his name. This guy is a UW Husky. This guy is a first round draft pick. His brother played for the Seahawks. What the hell is wrong with me? I don't know. I think maybe something's wrong with me. But if he sticks to him, it's going to be lights. It's going to be lights out. I wouldn't start him this week with Weeden there.
All right, and what about you, Pete? You have a take? I know you wanted to talk about the Dallas offense, so that was one of your big storylines of the week. Romo being out, Dez being out. So you want to start with your feel for Terrence Williams, and then roll from there.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Wheaton back there as much. I think there's definitely worse backup quarterbacks in the league. And Castle was just brought on just to give them some experience back there because they only have Kellen Moore as the other quarterback on their roster, and he has no NFL experience. So they just brought Castle on as some insurance, I think, in case Wheaton gets hurt or he's just awful. But I like Williams. I think he's a big play guy, and I mean, you look, his touchdown last week was from Brandon Wheaton, so I think it's a pretty solid play. I don't think you're going to get hurt by it. Even though Tahal's boy is going to be covering him, I don't think it's locked out. As Matthews went for 10 and like 108 the first week, Odell Beckham went for 7 and 76 or something like that in a touchdown. So I don't think it's going to be locked out. I think the kid's good. What is his name? It's driving me insane.
And I was
True Fun. It's True Fun. All his brothers are from Tacoma, my hometown, and I'm totally just blanking, man. It's just a lack of nutrition that my brain is not functioning. True Fun. He's a good player.
It is the youngest of the brothers, Trufant, and I had the name. Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt you, Peyton, but I'm glad we got that established now. So continue.
Yeah, so I think he is good. I think the kid's good, but Williams is going to be the number one target, just like we talked about with Brandon Cooks, with McCown being back there. Whenever you have a backup quarterback back in, they're going to look for the number one receiver. Maybe it might be Witten kind of a bit more as a security blanket, but Williams is still going to get his shots. He's going to get his catches, or at least his targets. So you got to figure he's talented enough to break one or make some big plays. And kind of just on the Cowboys offense as a whole, I think the biggest, or the person that benefits the most out of this is Julius Randle, or Joseph Randle, sorry. I think they're going to try and run the ball. They're going to lean on that offensive line, not make Wheaton look like Tony Romo out there. They're going to try and pound it. It's not going to look like DeMarco Murray and put up 150 and a few scores, but he'll get his touches. He'll get 20 carries. He'll probably get in the end zone once. It's good out of the backfield in the passing game. So I'm looking at Randall as kind of the biggest beneficiary, the biggest upside play this week and kind of moving forward against some very subpar run defenses while Romo's going to be out. Besides Seattle.
All right. Well, you mentioned Seattle, and that's actually where I was going to take this now. Before we get to the injury stuff, we're going to wrap up, our storylines of this week. Of the week past and the week coming, likes, dislikes, big stories, all that kind of stuff. And the last one is Seattle. And I wanted to leave this with Tahal. This is actually, he's the insider, our Seattle insider for the Nickel Press. And the team has, really been disappointing the first 2 weeks. A lot of people believe that has a direct effect based on Cam Chancellor holdout. Cam Chancellor is now signed. He'll be back. I believe he's playing today. That was Tahal's big story of the week, and I think it is big news. But what is this? What do you think this means for Seattle? Does this put them back on track? And I know it's a defensive player that we're talking about, not an offensive player. But what I think people sometimes don't realize that if you're not playing IDP, if you're just playing offensive fantasy football, defenses on teams have a lot to do with how the offense flows and is dictated. So. Seattle, having their complement of defensive players back changes the direction and the pace of the game for both teams. So, how big is this Cam Chancellor news in your opinion, Tahal?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I understand if it's really big fantasy news, but it does improve their defense, was getting drafted way higher than any other fantasy defenses. So it's nice for them to have him back. He's kind of the main cog that makes everything kind of rock and roll here. Let's be honest, though. The Seahawks could be 2-0. People are the sky is falling. Like the Rams, had a miracle. They went, the Seahawks never give that kind of stuff up. The guy fell down after the Seahawks came back and should have won that game. They were up on the Packers in the fourth quarter. On the road, is there a harder game on the schedule all season? No, Dallas would have been tough, but Romo's out, Dez is out, Witten looks like he might die at any moment. So yeah, anyway, Chancellor is going to really bring that spark back to the defense. They get a gift at home today against Chicago, the home opener. Everybody's going to be live if Seattle comes out flat in this game, I mean they're huge favorites, like 16-point favorites. If they come out really flat in this game, then I'm going to be real concerned because they need to just put it on these dudes and do what people think they're going to do. Because I'm a bit concerned with how they're playing, but at the same time they could have easily won both of those games. So I'm not. It's not like a situation where you're New Orleans or Chicago and you're 0-2 and you're like, our season is literally over. So I'm still holding out hope, and I think Chancellor is a big reason why.
Well, to clarify what I was saying before I turned it over to you, Cam Chancellor being back, if Seattle is keeping teams off the field or is forcing a lot of 3-and-outs now because of that, now they can get back to what they like to do, which is control the pace of the game, run Marshawn Lynch. And the whole dynamic changes. If they're getting scored on, now they're more of a passing team. Other teams are scoring on them. If their defense is solid, whoever they're playing, it has an effect on them. So it's a cumulative effect. When you're talking about a guy like Cam Chancellor, who is in many eyes the glue to the Seahawks, talented and vaunted defense. So that's more.
Yeah, I think it'll lead to more sacks, more turnovers, et cetera, plus just sparking them in general. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it does have an effect on offensive stuff as well. But all right, Peyton, did you want to add anything before we start getting into some of this injury stuff?
No, good to go. Let's talk about the injured boys.
All right. Well, let's roll. We either will or will not be joined by the doctor in the next few minutes. So we'll start getting into the list of guys we know are definitely out at this time. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Drew Brees, Jericho Cotchery, Dwayne Allen, Jay Cutler, Alshon Jeffrey, Reggie Bush, Tevin Coleman, DeMarco Murray, as Tahal mentioned, Eric Decker, as I was mentioning earlier. These are all guys that are out at this time. So if you have them in your lineups, make sure you definitely remove them and go with a different option. There's a bunch of guys that are questionable, iffy, for various reasons, whether it's hamstrings, ankles. Ankles seems to be the injury flavor of the week, where hamstrings were the first couple weeks. It seems like everybody has an ankle sprain or injury this week. So Eddie Lacy is kind of at the top of the list with the gimpy ankle. Problem with him, obviously, is he's playing on Monday night. It seems like he's going to give it a go. He's going to be a right to play. But it does have to concern you a little. I know we talked about this a little while ago. I believe Peyton was talking about it. If you got Eddie Lacy, though, he's one of your horses. You kind of got to play him. Hopefully you have him backed up with James Starks. If you don't, I think you got to roll the dice there. I mean, if he's your only option for Monday night and he doesn't play, you'll be screwed. But I think you kind of have to roll the dice, even given that he's been not that great the first 2 weeks. What do you guys think about that? I mean, how would you feel? How would you treat Eddie Lacy's situation, given his first 2 weeks, given he's kind of a probable but still a game time decision in gimpy? If he's your only option for Monday night and you don't have a backup plan, are you comfortable starting Eddie Lacy, Taha?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to be. Like, my main concern would be if I'm Green Bay and this guy could like re-aggravate or something, like I'm not playing him. Like, I don't know why some of these teams, like the same thing with the Marshawn Lynch situation. It's like, why are they so hell bent on letting him play? Why would you want to re-aggravate the injury when you have a free victory? It's a little bit different for Green Bay's situation, obviously, because they're actually playing a legit NFL team in the Kansas City Chiefs, not an inept squad like the Chicago Bears where everything's falling apart. So if he can go, even if he's close to full speed, they're probably going to play him, man. I wouldn't want to have to start him, but I mean, let's be real. This guy's a top 5 overall fantasy pick. Like, who do you have that's a better option, man? Or you're talking about playing guys like, like an Abdullah or like somebody like that over him. I'm just not ready to do something like that. So, it screwed me kind of with C.J. Anderson last week. I had to start him, kind of situation where I didn't have anybody else, and he's kind of banged up. So I'm like, okay, I'm sure he's fine if they're playing him, and he had a weak-ass game. So, you have to play these guys. If he's a high pick like that, unless you're just stacked or found a stud and you have a really good option, I'm still starting him. But I hate it on the Monday night game. It's even worse because you have no you got to make the decision early unless you got the handcuff. So if you do, you're good.
Right, and that was a situation last Monday with Chris Ivory. He wound up playing. He was decent. He wasn't stellar. Bilal Powell got a lot of the late duty work. I don't know.
I think he should sit out a week, don't you? I mean, he doesn't look right, and if he's re-injuring it every week, sit him out a week. Jesus.
Who are we talking about now? Ivory or? Okay. Well, I just was talking about the Monday night game with Lacey this week. That was the situation Ivory was in last week. Ivory, again, he looks to be gone, but he's dealing with first it was a groin injury. Now, as a result of that, he's got a quad injury. If you got another option, I mean, I've been, I had a couple start-sit questions pertaining to Ivory, but most of those, the other options, I still think Ivory is the better play. But it really depends on your situation and what you have. Now, some other guys, Matt Stafford is on my dislike list this week. He's dealing with ribs. He's going to give it a go. He's going to play. But I don't necessarily feel great about Detroit playing Denver. Denver has a very solid defense, and especially in the secondary. And I'm not sure that Matt Stafford with the rib injury is somebody I want to play. Now, again, this really comes down to who you have on your roster. If you're talking about DFS play, if you're talking about a full season game, there's different outcomes. Now, one guy I really want to get a little deeper into, highly anticipated, consensus top rookie running back of this draft. I'm talking about Todd Gurley. Looks like he's going to go today. I was hoping we'd have the doctor on so we could get into it a little bit more with him. I don't know if he's going to be able to join us or not. As I mentioned, he doesn't have great reception on the remote island that he is vacationing with his family. So we'll talk about what we know about Todd Gurley. It looks like he's going to play. I'd hold off. I mean, this is not only his first NFL action, but he's got to catch up to game speed. Still don't know how he's going to look as a pro. We haven't seen anything from this guy, preseason, game-wise, anything at all. If you have him, great, keep him on your bench. But I don't think just because he's cleared to play and looks like he's going to play today that you necessarily throw him into your lineups. If you want to take a risk on him in a DFS league or something like that, that's one thing. But if you're looking for a win in your season long, I would personally keep him on my bench. And I have him on a couple of my benches, and that's where he's going to remain for week 3. Taha, what's your take with, or you know what? Let me start with Peyton. Peyton, what's your take with Todd Gurley? If you got him on your team, are you trying to get him into your lineup this week, or are you still waiting it out to see how he shows his knee is recovered?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to score a touchdown this week. I just have a feeling. So I don't know how much more work he's going to get, but it's just kind of one of those things. Everyone's expecting him to have a big game. He's going to get it in the end zone. At home, I think it's going to happen. I still think they're going to, let Mason, let Cunningham take a lot of the carries. Definitely depending on how the game flow works too. If they're down, Cunningham's going to be seeing a lot of time as kind of third down passing back. So I think it's too risky to play Gurley in a standard league. Hold on to him, wait a week. It's not going to kill unless if you're thinking your matchup's terrible and you need some, a flyer that, maybe he goes off for 20 points or something like that. Maybe put him in, but I'm waiting on him, even though I'm saying that now he's going to score a touchdown. It's going to happen.
Okay, and I see where you're going with that. That everybody tells you not to play him, and then he's going to go off. And he's got that potential. Week 1, or maybe it was the preseason show we were talking. Doug Moore was on. Doug's not with us today, but was saying he thought Gurley. Taha will remember this. He thought Gurley was going to be the Odell Beckham of running backs, where he missed the first couple weeks, and then he just comes on like a flash and carries teams to prominence in the playoffs. We're kind of here now. I remember Odell Beckham's first game last year, and just watching his confidence and his swagger, and just thinking this guy is different. There's just something different about this guy. And this was before he went off and did what he did. That was kind of mind-boggling. So to compare somebody and put him in that light, I think it's a little bit of a stretch. But then again, Todd Gurley was everybody to a man was this is the number one guy to draft ahead of Amari Cooper, ahead of Nelson Aguilar, ahead of Kevin White, ahead of Devontae Parker, whoever you can mention, Melvin Gordon, all these guys. He was the clear-cut number one guy heading into most drafts this offseason. Taha, what's your take with Todd Gurley? What's your feeling with Todd Gurley? Are you a fan of his? Do you like him this week?
Yeah, I remember that conversation with Doug when he said he was the Odell Beckham of running backs, and then said he wouldn't draft him anywhere. So I was kind of confused. He's pulling me in both directions, as Doug is known to do. He's confusing me. I'm not sure where he was going with that. But yeah, I like Gurley a lot, and like Peyton said, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets a TD this week. It wouldn't be surprised me if he got a couple TDs this week when everybody's sitting him, and then next week he does nothing. It's just kind of how it goes in fantasy football. It's frustrating. It's annoying, but that's kind of the thing. So, but he should eventually lead the team in carries. I mean, it's been close to a year or a full year from his surgery. I don't think it's been a full year, but it's getting there. And in this day and age, guys are usually ready to go at that point. So he's good to go. He's been running. He's been practicing. He's just a more gifted running back than Trey Mason. I felt bad for Trey Mason when they drafted another running back. Cunningham's garbage at running the ball. He's a decent pass catcher. So, yeah, he should come in right away. Pittsburgh's run D has been okay. Shazier is out. They're only, decent tackler and linebackers other than Timmons. So, that could have some kind of impact. But, yeah, like Peyton said, I wouldn't be surprised if he hits pay dirt today, at least once.
I'm putting him in a lineup just out of principle now, I think.
You got me thinking about it. I'm looking at the DraftKings. I'm like, should I get him in there?
Yeah, because I've put Garrett Blunt in a couple leagues instead of Gurley right now.
Is that his week? Is it Blunt's week? Are they finally going to screw everybody and pound Blunt? I'm waiting for it.
Exactly.
Well, he's supposed to get more work this week, and depending on what you think of how that game's going to go, if they're up with the lead, it could be that he's just running the ball, grinding it out. I can't believe I missed this, and I never made the connection. And I don't know if this was a slip of the tongue or kind of an innuendo, but I believe our good friend here, Mr. Beddick, just referred to Odell Beckham as Odell Beckett or Odell Beddick. Have you ever been? Have you ever? Was that a slip of the tongue, or was that an?
I don't know if I said that or not, but that would be awesome. If that was.
Well, you are Odell Beckett, Odell Beddick now. It's not coming out naturally anymore, but Odell Beckett, Beddick.
Yeah, I might have to change the Twitter handle for that.
I like it, man. Let's get into a couple more injuries. Tight ends. There's two that are, kind of very serviceable tight ends. One missed last week. One might miss this week. They both might miss this week. Darius Green and Delanie Walker. Delanie Walker is probable at this time with the hand. I don't know if his status has changed. I think he's good to go this week. You guys might know a little bit more than I, because I've been working on keeping this show cohesive right now. So hopefully you guys are monitoring some of the injury updates while I'm rambling on.
I'm just looking at chicks on Instagram, bro. I'm not sure what's going on.
There you go.
I think Walker's back.
And like I said, I think he's probable. As far as I know, he's good to go right now. So if you have Delanie Walker,
he tweeted out a picture of himself getting ready in his locker room. In the locker room.
I would venture that's as safe as you can get to being a play then. So if you got Delanie Walker, he's a viable tight end one. And let's see, Tennessee is playing, of course, this week. The Colts. Play him. I thought there was more. Play him is what Peyton's suggesting. I would have to agree. He's a tight end one. He's back. If he's playing, you got to play him. Unless of course your other tight end is Gronk or something like that. Darius Green is the other one. He's got a concussion. He's in the concussion protocol. This is his second concussion within the last month, I believe. I don't know that he gets it cleared, and that would create huge problems for the Chargers offense.
He's out.
He is out. Okay. He is out for sure. Okay. So that is.
How's this guy even trying to play through 2 concussions in 11 days or whatever? How would they even let him play? That's crazy to me in this day and age.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It just speaks to, we can get off topic with the concussion stuff, and we could probably talk for another 3 hours about that issue alone. But anyway,
let's do it.
Well, let's finish rolling with Ladarius Green first. He is out. That to me signals Keenan Allen is got to be in a lot of lineups this week, DFS included. He's not a consistent guy. We've seen he's not a consistent guy in his career, but he can be explosive. He can have 20 targets in a game. He can come up with 15 receptions in a game. He has that kind of potential. Minnesota has a decent defense. I think they're more middle of the road than in any one direction. What do you guys feel with Ladarius Green being out of the mix for the Chargers this week? I know it's kind of a diversion from the injury, but do you think that affects anything with San Diego playing Minnesota? Peyton, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of getting Keenan Allen into a couple lineups right now and some DFS lineups because of him being out. I think it benefits him. I think it also benefits people that have sat on Antonio Gates coming back in a couple of weeks. I think it benefits them down the road. Because Green was being pretty productive, but now he's got concussions and he's going to miss at least 1 week. I would be surprised if he plays next week too. Like Paul was saying, I mean, 2 concussions in 2 weeks. This is going to ride out for a while. And the thing with concussions too is everyone's like, oh, we'll check today. It's just like, you never know. They end up saying that for a month, and then finally like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty serious. So I think Gates owners benefit from it. I think today, Keenan Allen, I love Danny Woodhead. I love Gordon this week anyway. I think them out of the backfield, catching the ball is kind of more beneficial with Green out. And I think everyone in Chargers kind of benefits except for Rivers. Probably hurts him a little bit because it's a big red zone threat that's out. But I think it's good for everyone else.
What about the run game? Do you think?
I love both backs today. I love them. I think Gordon's going to score his first touchdown. I think they're going to give him the rock a lot. Woodhead's looks like the best back on that team, and so they're going to keep giving him work. He's great on the backfield. They find ways to get him the ball, kind of like as Sproles used to be. They use him in all these different ways where he's just getting touches, and that's what you want out of running backs is touches because they have the opportunity to break out. Really, that's what you want out of any player is touches. So I like both of them. I think they had pretty good matchups this week. Minnesota, that's right? Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Carlos Hyde tore them apart. Minnesota's defense 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, you got to think that it's going to be a pretty positive matchup.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I don't think Minnesota is anything more than a middle of the pack defense. They do get the home game today. They get that Viking horn going. On a side note, did you see there's a holdout dispute with the mascot, the Viking that rides the motorcycle?
I was going to say that. Did they pay that dude or what? He didn't even look like the real deal to me. I was looking at the picture. I'm like, this dude just looks like some bum off the street, man. Where did they find this guy? They couldn't get like a Thor-looking, like just like swole-ass dude. They had to get this like just scraggly chump. Like, I'm confused. I'd be like, yeah, dude, kick rocks. I'm not paying you nothing.
He's been there for 21 years.
Right, You're right. I take it all back. I love it.
It's yeah. I mean, is that unionized? Is there a mascot union? I don't know. Obviously, it looks like the doctor's not going to join us today. I think we went over most of the main injuries. If you have somebody else that we didn't mention, please ask us either on Twitter. Again, People's with the Z, People's Pen. Tahal is Beddick, BEDDICT 143.
Soon to be Odell Beddick.
There you go. Odell Beddick. And Peyton, of course, is Peyton Sanders at Paysand, PAYSAND. So we're going to roll in now to some start-sit advice. We're going to get into people's questions that are people wondering. I do want to plug real quick. Actually, I want to allow Peyton to plug real quick. He has a DFS cheat sheet that he works on. You can win a free copy. If you leave a comment, the next person that leaves a comment will get a free DFS cheat sheet for this week. But I'm going to let Peyton explain that one a little bit more. And Peyton, why don't you tell everybody how they can find it? And if you tweet a link right now, they should be following you on Twitter at Paysand, Paysand. But go ahead, Peyton. Explain a little bit more. Are you there, Peyton? Peyton might not be there.
Muted.
There we go. Sorry.
That's all right.
Here we go. It's I'll send out a tweet right now. Follow me and the Infirmary Report. It's on our website, infirmaryreport.com. Actually, infirmaryreport.blogspot.com, I think. Anyway, I'll send out the link, so no big deal there. But next comment we'll send out. We'll give you the option if you want to cheat sheet for this week or next week, since we're pretty close to game time here. Comes with the recap from the week before. Show you how I did, so I'm not just taking my word for it that I'm decently okay at this stuff, I guess. So no, but had a pretty good week the first 2 weeks. A couple guys burned us, like I said. Allen Robinson was kind of the big one. All the quarterbacks burned me last week, but you know what can you do? Just trying to help everyone win some money. So tweet the link now, and again at Paysand and at the Infirmary Report.
Awesome. And as I was mentioning before, we've been adding content to the channel. So Tuesdays we're offering a waiver wire start sit hour. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's a live audio show where you can call in and ask your questions. That's with Doug Moore and Mario Rotundi, who's now helping us out with the Nickel Press. Wednesdays I'm doing Hanging Einstein interview series. As I mentioned, Sigmund Bloom was my guest last week for the first one. I have Josh Moore from 4 for 4 coming up this week, and then a whole bunch of other big names from the industry. And Thursdays, we're going to start offering a DFS show, which is mostly going to be geared towards college football for your Thursday, Friday, Saturday games. But we'll answer some NFL questions as well. We're going to jump into some start sit now. I know one of Tahal's friends asked this a while ago. He's probably desperately waiting the answer. He asked, I need 3 of Carlos Hyde, Amir Abdullah, Dion Lewis, C. Johnson. I'm assuming that's Charles Johnson, or you wouldn't be asking, and Gurley. I need someone to talk me out of starting Gurley. This was asked by a friend. Oh, that's what Tahal said. We talked a little about Gurley before. I hope I did talk you out of it. I just keep him on my bench. I wait to see what he does. So the 3 out of Hyde, Abdullah, Dion Lewis, and Charles Johnson.
I'm assuming he's talking about Chris Johnson because they're all running backs, but I'm not.
You know what? I hadn't even thought Chris Johnson. You're right. It probably is Chris Johnson. So let's say 3 out of Hyde, Abdullah, Dion Lewis, and Chris Johnson. Tahal, since this is one of your boys, you wanna answer first?
Yeah, I answered it on Twitter already just because I felt bad for waiting so long. But I told him I think I put in Lewis in there, and then who are the other? Who was the main one?
Hyde, Abdullah.
Yeah, I said Hyde, obviously, and then I think I threw in Abdullah, although I'm lower on Abdullah than everyone else in the nation thus far. But I think he might still be like a possibly safer pick than Gurley. I'm just really intrigued on what we're going to see here. Reports coming out of Joique Bell just looking like even worse than I expected. All my nightmares coming true. So he can hardly get on the field right now. So Abdullah's going to get more work than even expected. Against Denver, it's a tough game, man. I might lean Gurley there, but I think I said either Gurley or Abdullah. Abdullah is possibly a safer play, I guess. But I would, if it was me personally, I might throw Gurley in there over Abdullah, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone. I think we've talked about this before, you and I, that I'm not sold on Abdullah either. I think a lot of his success has been exaggerated and overrated based on one cutback in his first preseason game against the Jets. But with that being said, he does have explosiveness that not a lot of people possess. And he is always one play away from, taking it to the house for a touchdown from any distance, 99 yards or 1 yard out. So I think for that reason, you do have to play him on a week-to-week basis, whether it's Denver or not, because he does add that receiving ability out of the backfield. So you're not just looking at carries, you're looking at receptions as well. So for me, I would go with Hyde, Abdullah, and Dion Lewis. And the only reason I say Dion Lewis is because he seems to really has elevated himself to number one on the Patriots depth chart at the position.
Yeah.
So
what a legend!
A legend, exactly. A legend is born. So Peyton, do you have anything indifferent, or would you go a different way than what Tahal and I have said so far, or are you in agreement there?
No, I'm in agreement. I'm not as big on Abdullah yet. Like you said, it's one big play. I like more and more than we talk about. I'm liking Gurley more. So everything else I agree with, and I'd probably lean towards Gurley over Abdullah.
All right, so scratch everything we've told you for the last hour and a half. Play Todd Gurley. I'm just kidding. I'm still personally benching him. All right.
That question was from my boy BC, CN Nick Lake City. I don't know if that's in Lake City, Lakewood, Washington, in the hood where I'm from, but I'm not sure. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know him personally, but he is my boy on Twitter. That's all that matters.
I'm gonna take it to one of my boys on Twitter, and that's Kane-Saw24, and he wants to know who do we like at flex today? Amari Cooper, T.Y. Hilton, Lamar Miller, or Doug Martin. Out of those four guys, I think I gotta go. I gotta go with T.Y. Hilton. I gave you my case against Cooper before. I just don't like the Joe Hayden matchup. Lamar Miller, I don't like Buffalo, and I don't like his ankle. And Doug Martin, I just haven't seen enough out of him yet for me to start him. So I would go with T.Y. Hilton personally. I would lean with Tahal if you don't like Hilton. I would take Cooper just based on the fact that he's awesome. But I still do fear that Hayden matchup a little too much. Peyton, what do you say from those four? Amari Cooper, T.Y. Hilton, Lamar Miller, or Doug Martin for your one guy for a flex?
Yeah, I mean, this guy's got an embarrassment of riches here if they're looking at that at his flex spot. Man, I think you got to kind of look at your matchup. If you're thinking you're going to be pretty solid, you just need points this week. Man, I don't know. I would probably lean with you and go Hilton if we're going want kind of big play numbers. But I like Cooper and I like Doug Martin a lot too. I think Doug Martin's going to have a pretty solid game against the Texans today. If he got in the end zone once in the first 2 weeks, he would have some solid numbers, but he just hasn't found the end zone yet. He's averaging like over 5 yards a carry. So, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I'd probably go with Hilton because I always lean towards going with your studs. So I'd go with Hilton, but I wouldn't be upset with going with Cooper or Martin either.
Okay. So I don't think you have a difference of opinion. But do you? Just I gotta be courteous and ask you, Mr. Odell Better.
No, feel free to move along. I have a. Could I ask? I got another question here that is just. It's just confusing me. He asked me on Twitter, and I sold him my throat to you guys because I'm struggling with it.
That's fine, and go ahead if you got a question. I have one, but if you got one lined up, queued up.
Yeah, is T Sakuchi. He says so. He has to play one of these three: Frank Gore, Dion Lewis, or T.J. Yeldon.
I will start. You said, I'm sorry, Frank Gore.
Yeldon or Lewis?
Yeah, I would have to take Lewis, although I do like Yeldon this week. I think the Patriots can be run on. They're actually one of the top 5 worst rush defenses through 2 weeks. So I personally would feel comfortable with Yeldon. But if you fear that matchup, I think Lewis is a safe pick as well for the reasons I just mentioned. If I'm choosing Gore, I'm out on just because I haven't seen much yet. We talked about that earlier with the just all the options that Indy has. So if I would rank those, I would go Yeldon, Lewis, Gore for those 3. How about you, Peyton?
I'd probably go Lewis over Yeldon.
Okay.
I think. But I don't know. Is it PPR league, Tahal?
It's a really tough one, yeah, man. I think it's
It's PPR. I'd go with Lewis probably, just because they work him a little bit more out of the backfield. But that's tough. Yeah, PPR. I go Lewis. If it's standard league, I'll go Yeldon.
If it makes any difference, I think Yeldon can actually get a touchdown on the ground today, which gives you 6 points right there. So I would feel comfortable with Yeldon. If Tahal doesn't have an answer, I'm going to get to a next question. But
well, my answer, for some reason, I keep feeling like Gore is like just a gut call. Like, is he going to get a couple gimme TDs this week? I just have a gut call, but it's like, and then Yeldon, I'm like, he's got, the Jaguars. I don't see them like winning the game. I think they're going to be down. Like, Yeldon hasn't looked great anyway. Like, regardless. So, granted, whether the Patriots defense is good or not, their pass rush is good. I don't know. It's a really tough one to call. And then, like we mentioned earlier, with Blunt possibly eating into Lewis's work a little bit. Is he still the? I mean, it's a very tough call, but yeah.
And Gore's, I didn't hear Gore was an option part of that. He's actually interesting because if he didn't fumble at the 1 yard line, he had a walk-in TD last week, and he ends up having a good fantasy week. So it's kind of all in perspective that one play where he fumbles on his own, he just dropped the ball, he didn't even get touched. He ends up puts up over 10 points instead of whatever the 3 that he had, or with minus the fumble. So that's tough.
I personally think the Tennessee defense is better than we want to give them credit for, and they're going to give the Colts a couple problems today. So I don't think it's enough to stay away from Gore, but just out of those 3 options, I feel most comfortable with Yeldon, followed by Lewis. When it comes to Gore, since we're talking about him right now, I think sometimes we want to drive the narrative so much. We want guys to, just because the situation looks right, believe that it should be more than it is. Gore in particular, I mean, he's an older running back. He's on the decline. Like, they weren't, with all the options in Indy, like, it was supposed to be a cakewalk for him this season, and it's not getting off to a great start. I don't necessarily think he's going to be ineffective the rest of the way, but, like I said, sometimes, we want to tell ourselves it's going to be something that our eyes, we want our brains to believe something different than what our eyes are seeing. And what my eyes are seeing with Gore is that he's not the guy that you drafted him to be. So if you have other options, don't necessarily be afraid to play them. I'm going to get into another question now. This is from Andy Beardsley on Twitter, and he wants to know Latavius Murray or Randall at running back. I think we answered this before. Tahal and I both love Latavius Murray this week. I think he's a good play, so I would take Murray over Joseph Randall. Do you have something different with that, Peyton?
Nope, I agree with that. I like Randall, but I think I love Murray this week, so I don't think that's even a question.
Okay, we'll go with another question now from LB Markle, or Marcy, sorry, LB MARCIE on Twitter. Wants to know, I'm 0-2 and need a win to help keep our trophy with me. David Johnson or Davante Adams as my flex, Standard League. Standard League makes it a little different. Again, this goes back to the Monday night game with the Packers, Davante Adams. I don't see how you can keep Davante Adams out of your lineup. David Johnson looks better than, for a couple big plays than he does on a volume standpoint. I'm going to turn this over to Tahal. David Johnson or Davante Adams as your flex, which one would you take?
I think you got to go Davante Adams all day. I think Sean Smith, Casey's best cornerback, although the rookie, rookie Peter's looking like a legend in the making. But once they get so he won't be able to cover both Green Bay receivers. So I think Davante Adams, he's kind of due for the big game. All the other guys have had a nice game, except he's been like semi-quiet. So I prefer him over a guy who we still don't know if he should be a little more involved this week, but how much do they trust him in the regular running game? The Niners' run D is 1,000 times better than the Bears. So that's what I'm looking at right there, and I'll go to Adams without no question.
Peyton, how about you? Peyton, anything?
Yeah, get out of here with David Johnson. He's a player. He's just kind of like Abdullah was. He's had one or two huge plays, and now he's everyone's favorite player. And Davante Adams is going to be his favorite play against an okay KC defense or pass defense. I mean, that Marcus Peters was legit last week, but can't cover everyone, like Tahal said. I'm going with Adams. Johnson's going to burn us again this week. I know after we're down on him, he's going to break off like an 80-yard run or something.
Right.
And he's going to have 10 carries, for no yards and no receptions that break off an 80-yard touchdown, and everyone's going to tell us that we're idiots. So, no, I'm going with Adams. It's a better play.
All right, cool. We'll try to run through as many as we can these last 15 minutes or so. Any start-sit questions, any DFS plays you want to try to sneak into a lineup, ask them now. Now's the opportunity. Tim Phi, or he's at Tim Griswold on Twitter, CJ Anderson or Doug Martin. I almost wish Doug Moore was with us today to answer this question because he's a big CJ Anderson fan. I'm big on CJ this week. I think he can run on Detroit. I would take Anderson over Doug Martin. Peyton, what do you think about that one?
I mean, I've been down on C.J. Anderson, but I like him this week. I think they're going to just dominate Detroit. I think that defense is going to be all over Stafford, so they're going to get some short field. Sanderson will get in the end zone at least one time. Detroit's defense is nothing like they were last year. They had some huge losses, and it's going to be – I think it's going to be a blowout. Unfortunately, I hate when the Broncos just blow teams out because the city goes nuts around here with they're the Super Bowl champions after something like that. It's so annoying, but I think Anderson has a really good week.
And Taha, what about you? CJ Anderson or Doug Martin? Who are you taking?
Yeah, I think it's got to be CJ for me. Doug Martin, the Houston Texans. It's hard to figure out their defense, but so I don't know what game flow that game's going to be like whatsoever. But yeah, like as Peyton mentioned, the Detroit defense just looks like a shell of what they looked like last year. I know it's early, but yeah, they're just getting diced and shredded out there, which they looked great last year. They lost Sue, but what else did they? I think they got a linebacker out or something. I'm not sure if he's back this week. I know their corners are banged up. But yeah, the defense just doesn't look right to me. I think C.J. Anderson has to get back on track this week.
All right, this is a good one, I think. Junior Perez 86 on Twitter. Question out to the experts. Keenan Allen or James Jones as my second wide receiver?
Come on, man.
Yeah, I think this is Keenan Allen all the way. We talked about both players today, especially the Darius Green being out. Keenan Allen could be a target monster. He's not consistent, but he will put up big games. You just don't know when that's going to be. I think today could be one of those. And James Jones is his production is really tied into scoring a touchdown, which so far he's been doing. But that's a gamble to play. You're kind of playing roulette there with yourself. Taha, what do you think? Is it a no-brainer for you, or do you like James Jones over Keenan Allen?
Yeah, all I heard was Keenan Allen and James Jones. Let's move on. I'm not ready.
All right, and then how about you, Peyton? What do you think?
Agreed.
All right.
Ditto. People still say ditto?
Yeah, people.
They should. If they're not, they need to bring it. Someone needs to bring it back. I think you just did.
I think that just happened.
Ditto.
All right, so here, let me get to another one then. I'm looking. I got a bunch here. I'm trying to think of a good. What's a good one for us? With Romo gone, this is Nick's loyalty forever shining. With Romo gone because of injury in one of my leagues, after all, Fitz over Bridgewater. Is he making a smart decision there? What say you, Taha? You were down on Bridgewater.
Yes. The Eagles secondary looks terrible. My boy Byron Maxwell just getting roasted out there. You see Terrence T. Willie just took him deep. Yet last week it was just embarrassing. I'm like, dude, are you even paying attention out here, dude? Are you high? What is going on? You're just getting torched on a weekly basis. And until that stops, I'm going Fitzpatrick. Although Decker and Owusu are both out today, I believe. So that's kind of a big blow. So, wait, hold on. Maybe do I need to rethink this? To Fitzpatrick or Bridgewater? Yeah, I'm still going Fitzy this week. I don't know who he's going to find. That one dude who's like a former tight end. I'm blanking on the pronunciation of his name. He looked intriguing. I don't know if the rookie's back, Devin Smith, this week or not. But he'll make it rain, man. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Harvard. That's what he does. Rain dance. It's coming. Jets.
I love hearing you say Jets. All right, Peyton, I'm going to give you this one. Princess T _23. Eddie Lacy or Ryan Matthews? Help. My vote is Eddie Lacy. Like I said earlier, you got to play him. Would you play Ryan Matthews knowing that DeMarco Murray's out or against that Jets defense? Pete, what do you say? Ryan Matthews, Eddie Lacy.
Yeah, is it Brian Matthews going to somehow be better than Marco Murray all of a sudden and just run all over the Jets defense? No, you got to go Lacy. Until the Eagles can prove they can run the ball with anyone, you have to go your other option. Go Lacy.
All right, I got another one here. I'm going to give it to Tahal Kevin Hallinan, Nanilak on Twitter. Wants to know Steve Smith or John Brown. I like this question. I think this is a good one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I like Steve Smith personally over John Brown, even though I love John Brown. I still think just Steve Smith is the primary target with Crockett Gilmore in Baltimore, and Joe Flacco knows how to throw the ball. So I'd stick with Steve Smith, who's been hot. Tahal, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I thought John Brown had a good chance of going deep today after kind of witnessing kind of what the Steelers did to that secondary. Brown is due for one of those bombs. Everybody's on his hype train as I expected. He started off the season like catching 4 balls like on the first possession. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, I knew it! He's here! He stays the savior." But yeah, he's kind of quieted down. But I kind of like him to maybe get a score this week. But yeah, Steve Smith's targets are just so high. Although I like the Bengals to scheme on that and do a pretty good job at it as well. As we saw week 1, Steve Smith didn't really do shit. So, I'm fine. I'm fine either way. Smith is I think by far the safest play just because he should get double-digit targets again.
All right, Peyton, what do you say? Steve Smith or John Brown?
Love me some Steve Smith this week. I'm with Paul and that he'll just get the targets. And also, first game at home for the Ravens. Steve Smith is an emotional player. He feeds off the crowd. I think he's going to have a monster game. I think it was last year against the Bengals. It was like the opening game or something. I think it was the same situation, like opening game, and it was like Steve Smith's breakout year or breakout performance. That this guy's still got it. He went for like 10 receptions, like 120 or something like that. I think that was against the Bengals last year. I'm trying to find it now, but yeah, I'm all about Steve Smith this week.
Okay.
Peyton, what would you guys pay? What would you guys pay to see Pac-Man Jones and Steve Smith in a steel cage fight? Pay-per-view.
Pac-Man Jones and Steve Smith. That would be a good one. That would be a very good one. I think
an all-timer. I would
take Steve Smith for that, though. I'm putting a lot of money on Steve Smith.
Right, yeah, he's a savage.
I think one of the coolest moments that came out of the preseason was when Steve Smith got ejected and then went and watched watched the game with his son, and they tweeted out, "Thanks NFL for allowing me to watch this game with my son." I've been a fan of Steve Smith for a very long time. He just goes out and balls. He's a tough son of a bitch. Everybody's called him undersized, but he plays like a beast. He plays like a monster. Whatever you want to say about Pac-Man Jones, I think I put my money on Steve Smith all day against Pac-Man Jones or anybody for that matter.
Pac-Man it has to be in the cage because Pac-Man might pull the gat on. I don't know. It has to be like supervised because
that's true. Good point, Paul. And hey, those stats I was talking about in the home opener last year for the Ravens against the Bengals, he had 15 targets, 7 receptions, touchdown, and 118. So going off last year against the Bengals at home, I'll take that any day.
All right, we're running down final 5 minutes here. Peyton said there was a Tannehill question on the comment section. I don't see it. If you can find it, please ask it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
It's Tannehill, a legitimate starting QB in a 10-man league.
Yes. Still roll with him. He's still got Landry. He's got Rashard Matthews now. He's still got Jordan Cameron. He's still got so many options. And like I said last week, I pegged him to be a top 5 quarterback at the end of the season. For him to make up that ground, he's averaging nearly 300 yards a game and 1.5 touchdowns a game through 2 weeks. So I don't think he's far off. I think just there's a stigma about Tannehill that he's not as good as he is. But my money, yes, he's still viable. Sorry, I should have mentioned. Anybody else want to take that? Viable. Tannehill, 10-team league?
Yeah, I think so. He's kind of on the bottom end of that for me, and the main reason is just because of the offense they run. They don't run the ball at all. So even like when they're going on a few short drives, he's still getting like 34 yards passing, 30 or 40 yards passing on each of these drives, even though they're not amounting to anything. So I mean, he's stockpiling a bunch of just garbage stats, throwing 8-yard passes all day or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if that's what they're going to keep doing, like the stats are going to be there. So yeah. It's unfortunate he's not able to use Devontae Parker, still some of these other guys. So I'm not sure what's going on. It's just like the slot guys get all the balls.
I'm gonna ask one more. We're running down to the wire here. Just so you guys know, whoever's tuning in now at the end, if this is your first time, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future shows. We do this live every Sunday. We normally have a certified medical doctor with us. He's on vacation this week. But we answer start sit. We go over likes and dislikes, injury reports, updates, everything like that. So please subscribe to the channel and thank you for tuning in. We talked about a lot of the players you guys are asking about right now for your start sit advice. For instance, this question is TJ Yeldon or Todd Gurley as a start. We answered this before. I say TJ Yeldon. I'm going to turn it back to Peyton, who's giggling and laughing right now. Because he's completely come around on Todd Gurley as we've gone. So, Peyton, one last time, Yeldon or Gurley for you?
I don't know. I've gone back and forth with Gurley. I have him in 4 leagues. I'm starting them in 2, not starting them in the other 2. Same type of play. I have Blunt instead, basically all of them. I'm going to go with Gurley. I'm on board. I'm going Gurley. Just to be different. I think Yeldon's a good play, but I'm going to go Gurley.
And how about you, Tahal? You got something for that? Tahal, you still there? Yeldon or Gurley? Odell Beckham?
Yeah, I don't know. With Yeldon, I don't understand what's going on. Like, the guy's shown nothing in preseason, regular season, and yet the Jags are just fully intent on giving him 20 or 25. Like, for what? Like, I need to see something. Like, he hasn't done shit. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I'm going Gurley. Like, I'm confused. Please, explain to me. The Yeldon fanhood, like I liked the dude out of college. I thought he's going to be solid. Like I haven't seen anything, literally anything.
All right, well, it's now the 1 o'clock hour. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in again. Good luck in all your matchups this week. Please, again, subscribe to the channel. You can find all our Twitter handles in there. My name is Andy Singleton, People's Pen on Twitter. Of course, I had Tahal Beckham over here, who we've now dubbed and renamed Odell Beckham. I don't know if we're going to add a junior to it or not, but it's Odell Beckham now. You can find him on Twitter at Beckham143. And, of course, my man Peyton Sanders out of Denver, Rocky Mountain High Club over there. He's on Twitter at PaySand. Peyton, why don't you say goodbye to everybody, just so they can see you again one more time?
Yeah, everyone, let's go Cowboys. Let's go, boys.
And, of course, he's got the DeAndre jersey on. That's going to do it for us this week. Tune in this Wednesday. Josh Moore, 4 for 4 Josh Moore will be my guest on Hanging Einstein. And Tuesday nights, Doug Moore and Mario Rotundi doing Start Sit Waiver Wire Edition, Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. And this Thursday, we're going to premiere and debut College DFS. So that's going to be with Brendan O'Brien, Fantasy Ram on Twitter. That's it. Hope you guys got some enjoyment out of watching today, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Take care and good luck.